Hello, I'm Felicity Cohen. I'm so excited to introduce you to my Wellness Warriors podcast. For over 20 years, I've been a passionate advocate for helping thousands of Australians find solutions to treating obesity and health-related complications through surgical intervention and holistic managed care. My podcast is dedicated to all the people, past, present and future, who have helped shape my journey and continue to inspire me to work consistently to achieve a healthier Australia in both adults and future generations. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to my Wellness Warriors podcast. Heidi Stepanoff, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm very excited to see you now and haven't seen you for such a long time. I first met you when you came to WeightLoss Solutions Australia as a patient, and as we were chatting briefly before, it was around about 2011.
Yep, that's right. Yep, been a while.
So let's just go back to that beginning of your journey, and I'm hopefully you've still got some memories that far back of what were some of the things that led you towards looking to a surgical solution for you as far as your weight was concerned back then?
It was a trip to my doctor actually, and we actually went to the same gym, so she could see how hard I was trying to lose weight. The weight had crept on at first very slowly and then just sort of snowballed from there. I tried every diet, every magical cure you could imagine, everything on the internet. And I went to see her. We tried diet pills, and I went back. I took a few weeks for me to build up the courage to go back and see her again, because I'd actually gained weight through the whole process. And she talked to me about surgery, and at first I dismissed it because I thought it was something that was reserved for people much bigger than I was at the time. But she really sort of sat me down and said, well, actually you're morbidly obese, and this is what the consequences are. You're pre-diabetic, and this is a real option for you. And she actually put me in touch with your information session, and I went along, and I think I raced to the counter to be the first person to sign up for the consultation.
I actually think you did. Wow, that's an incredible story and memory. And you know, the information nights for me have always been a powerful opportunity to connect with people and hopefully inspire them to make those decisions that are really the tough ones. And what I love is that your GP, even back then 11 years ago, was so encouraging and supportive and took you down that road, because I think that's one of the hardest communities from our perspective to have educated, guided, and you know, to see them grow in how they support patients, because there was obvious, there was a mentality for so many years around, you need to lose weight, you know what to do. And most GPs would still back in 2011 not have kind of been the referring doctor to suggest it, because it was also a little bit taboo to raise the subject or suggest to a patient that surgery was the option.
Yeah, she was really positive. It was actually the way she spoke about it too. Like, it wasn't the big scary thing I'd imagined. She was really positive about it. She knew patients that had gone through both banding and vertical sleeve gastrectomy, and she just had really positive things to say about it. I actually left that meeting with the doctor feeling really positive. And it surprised me because I would naturally have been quite skeptical. I've always taken quite natural approaches to things and believed in just, but after years and years of putting myself through everything and coming out bigger, this felt like the right solution.
Fabulous. What kind of surgical procedure did you have?
I had a vertical sleeve gastrectomy, and that was where they remove a portion of your stomach. It's worked.
Amazing. I can see it's worked. It's incredible, and so much to uncover and to tell about your story and what's happened over the 11 years following your surgery. What were some of those initial changes, and what were some of those first highlights for you when you started to lose weight? How did you feel?
At first, it happened quite quickly for me. The obvious changes were just feeling more energy. I actually hadn't realised how weighed down I felt and heavy and tired until I started to lose the weight. And I'd had my daughter in 2007 before the surgery, And that was a big wake-up call for me, because I now had a little person watching, what I was doing and the way that I was living my life. And I obviously wanted to be around for as long as possible for her and do things with her. So being able to be more of an active mum and feeling confident about myself definitely had an impact on the way I mothered as well. So it was more the confidence, the energy, and I guess feeling more myself than I'd felt in a very long time. I really didn't identify. Every time I saw a photo of myself, I thought I was shocked. Didn't feel like it was me before I lost weight. And then as I started to lose weight, I felt like I was more myself. Yeah.
Almost like stepping into yourself and who you were meant to be.
Yeah.
I think that powerful, positive parenting message is really huge. And for so many people, I think they feel like they're disconnected a little bit from their daily activities with their children, because they just don't feel that they've got the physical competence to engage, to do the things that their children want them to do, and they're missing out on so much of living life with their kids and engaging with them. So there's so much going on there. It's that, the positive influence that you guide and educate your own children through, but also being actively engaging and involved in doing whatever they want to do with you. It's family lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely. And even things like photographs. Like I have so little photos of myself with my daughter between when she was born to when I'd started to lose weight. And it was because I just didn't feel... and it's not so much the way I looked, it was more I didn't feel it was me, and I didn't like myself in photos. I would go to the beach and, would cover up and watch her play rather than sort of more interacting with her. So those are the things that once, I realised, and we have all these wonderful photos and memories now. But yeah, it really did impact on being a parent and enjoying life with my kids. Yeah,
quality of life is huge.
Yeah, it is everything.
So you've got 2 children?
Yes, I have. My son was born in 2012, so not long after I'd lost all my weight. And that pregnancy was really good compared to the one before. And yeah, being a mum with 2 kids, I don't know how I would have done it if I hadn't have lost weight. It was, it's a big slog, as you know, you're a mum too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So your second child and the second pregnancy, do you feel that the weight loss contributed to a much healthier pregnancy?
Definitely. So when I fell pregnant with Alara, it was a bit of a surprise, and I was researching options to have my child, and kept reading that anyone my size was considered a high-risk pregnancy. And I felt awful. I felt like straight out of the bat, my daughter hadn't even been born and I'd put her at risk. It felt awful. I didn't feel great through the pregnancy. It's not especially like active time, you can feel really big and heavy, but I felt especially tired and, sort of dragged myself through the 9 months. With Alex, I was much more active. I felt like, and even just the birth itself, I felt better with. So it was definitely something I wish I'd had the opportunity to do earlier on before it got to the stage it was. But yeah, much better.
Fantastic. I think that's such a strong message, because so many people are fearful around not just falling pregnant and being able to fall pregnant, but carrying a healthy pregnancy to full term. I think that's a really important message, and also having a relatively easy birthing process as well. That's a big part of that whole story. It's not just about can you actually fall pregnant. And for us in this patient population, we're dealing with lots of people who have struggles with falling pregnant. So the surgery is a means to an end for so many of them. But, look at the bigger picture. It's all the way through the 9 months of pregnancy, and having a healthy birth that's uncomplicated at the end is so valuable. So great. And I'm sure your recovery as well was awesome.
Yes, much better. Yeah.
Energy is such a big concern for so many overweight people and morbidly obese patients. And I don't think people actually understand or really can imagine what that feels like to suddenly have more energy.
Yeah, that's right. It's so underrated, and you don't realise, because especially if the weight's crept on, how much of a toll it takes. But it's like walking around with a massive heavy coat on every day. You know, I was always an active person before I put the weight on, and when I got to over 100 kilograms, I really pulled back from everything. Doing, you know, downward dog at 125 kilograms is difficult. It's not relaxing, it's not enjoyable, but it's something I do now to relax. I'm always outside. I love diving. I love, you know, any sports that I can participate in. So it's difficult to know the difference. It was something of a bit of surprise, I guess, as I started to lose weight and think, I thought this was me, and it really was just the weight holding me back.
Having the opportunity to lead an active lifestyle as well, what so many people don't actually understand is the more active you are, the more energetic you actually feel. It actually energizes you. So not only do you have the energy to go out and do more, but you're actually getting more energy and gaining more from that whole engaging opportunity. Do you feel that that's true?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a vicious cycle. And once you're sitting in, you withdraw from friends, you start to spend more time alone at home, and it becomes that kind of circular situation. But with, you know, being out and about now, you're naturally more social. You do more. I think it's really difficult to identify how isolated you become until you start to realize there's something else, and feeling you know, once you've out and about and doing stuff is a lot easier when you're more confident about the way you feel, you've got the energy to do it. It's difficult to push yourself out of the couch initially, but I lost most of the weight without doing much exercise in the beginning, and as I started, because it wasn't a pleasant experience for me prior, but then I started to do it just because I thought I'd better start doing some walking, I want to tone up, and I realised how much easier it was. I enjoyed it. It was social, so there were so many benefits to living a more active life.
Amazing. I think that social isolation story is very common for so many people. Once they reach a point where they're uncomfortable with their weight, they're lacking in self-confidence, and they start to retreat into not actively socializing with their family and friends as much as would be nice. That's a real problem. And, you know, so nice to see that you've moved on from that, and that you can have this much bigger world around how you socialise. I think it's so important that we're, especially in this day and age now, that we're not socially isolating, that we're looking for ways to connect even more. So you must really be enjoying those relationships more than ever before.
I am, yeah. And
I love it.
Yeah, I'm really into my diving now. I'm a dive master, so I get to, it's basically an underwater tour guide, so I get to lead other divers on dives now, and it's something I'm really proud of, because getting that certificate as a 40-year-old woman who had been on the, you know, inside, sitting down, very sedentary lifestyle for such a long time, it's quite a physically demanding activity. And
diving is so taxing, and I was just about to get into that, but I know it's your passion and you couldn't wait to tell me, so I'm super excited to talk about diving. That's your thing, it's your passion. You're a dive master, you do underwater photography.
Yeah,
it's
just
a bit of a hobby.
Yeah,
which is fun, it's awesome. I love that. You've got to be a good diver to be able to go and take beautiful photographs at the same time, so I think that's spectacular. And I remember you saying that, you know, you would never have put on a wetsuit to go out diving, and you wouldn't have been comfortable on that dive boat with all those people around you to be able to experience that. Tell me, why did you go to and start diving? What led you down that path?
I've always loved the ocean, and when I was a teenager, I wanted to be a marine biologist. I loved surfing, I loved sailing, I loved swimming at the beach. So it was always a big passion of mine. And when I put on a lot of weight, I stopped surfing, I stopped going to the beach. I didn't enjoy buying swimsuits or putting swimsuits on. Everything looked like it was designed for a grandmother that fit me. And it never occurred to me that I could be a diver. And when I lost weight, I actually got a gift certificate, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. So I signed up for an introductory course and never looked back. I just fell in love with it. But putting a wetsuit on is intimidating when you're, you know, a plus size, because it's difficult to move, etc. And now I have to put on a wetsuit on a moving dive boat on the way to a dive site, and I don't think twice about it. So it's good.
Amazing, I love it. Where are some of your favourite dive spots close by? Where do you go?
I love the Solitary Islands in Coffs Harbour. That's, to me, it's the best spot, and it's right on our doorstep. It's just a bit of everything. You get the warm water currents coming down and the cold water currents coming north. So there's a mix of all the tropical stuff and then the colder pelagic stuff. It's really cool.
So you get the tropical fish and beautiful things to look at down there.
Yep, and all the sharks. We get a lot of grey nurse sharks that stay around year round at Coffs Harbour, so they move up and down the coast, but we always see them there. Yeah, it's really, really special place. And I really feel at home underwater. It's sort of my meditation. I love showing people around and seeing their enjoyment in the site. Yeah, it's amazing.
Have you ever done any diving outside of Australia? I
have. I've dived in Fiji. I went to see the tiger sharks over there. I've dived in the Solomon Islands. And I've done around Indonesia as well. So yeah, a few spots, but so much more to see. Definitely.
What's your favourite spot so far?
Oh, I have to say Coffs Harbour, but Fiji was pretty special too. The tiger sharks are just mesmerising to watch. They're like huge buses underwater. They're massive, but very awe-inspiring. You feel how little you really are in the ocean when you see one of those cruise past.
I love that, and I love diving. I've actually done a lot of diving myself, and I don't think I would ever have married my husband if I wasn't able to have been a diver. I think I got pushed underwater the first time, but it's a wonderful experience, and really love it. I've had a couple of challenges diving myself. Once in Egypt, actually, in Sharm el-Sheikh. There was some incredible tides, and I got swept away from the group, and I didn't actually know whether they were in front of me or behind me. And so I was parallel, holding onto a rock.
Oh gosh!
Lucky for me, they were behind me. So I wasn't left down there with the sharks in Sharm el-Sheikh. Thank goodness. So lived to tell the tale. Have you had any scary moments down there?
Maybe not so much. We did in Fiji, one of the shark dives that we did, we'd watched the tiger sharks, we'd all been mesmerised by the show, and then they tap on their tanks to let you know, everybody, it's time to go because the food's running out. That they do fish heads they feed them, and once they run low they like to get everyone out of the water so the sharks don't get curious, I suppose. And we headed back to the boat, only that one of the sharks decided to follow us up to the boat, and it came up behind one of my dive buddies, and it was one of those moments where you're like, let's not panic here. But we'd also heard that the week before that a tourist had, one of the sharks had missed out on their tuna heads and had come around and decided to give him a bit of a shake. He was actually okay. But it was a little bit sort of, I'm not sure we know what to do here, and we're all trying to remember what to do if it approaches you. Whether we push it down or push it up, I can't remember. So it was one of those, and I've never seen so many divers scramble onto a boat as quickly as I have that day. But I'm pretty comfortable underwater. I am a bit of a safety freak, so everyone's pretty well briefed, and I make sure everyone feels safe underwater. But it's definitely another experience altogether.
Oh, and I love that that's become a passion for you that has evolved through, post-surgical story. And I think, one of the things to highlight, we could talk about diving for ages because I love it, but I think the important thing here is so much about you can actually go out and achieve all of these things, and these dreams that you might have had that were never your reality can suddenly become your story, and you can really go and do whatever you want to do in life. And that's what you've done. You've embraced this whole new hobby that's become a passion, and obviously a really big part of who you are in your life now. I think it's spectacular.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It's good to feel like I'm living the life that I was meant to live.
Beautiful, love it. Let's talk a little bit about relationships. And the reason I want to talk about relationships is that so often when we're talking to people before surgery, there's this concept around, in a relationship where, my partner or my significant other, whoever that is and what that looks like, they love me no matter what. And there's less of a focus on health aspects when it comes to talking about why you know how love looks, that we associate it with size and weight. And I always try and break that down and talk to people about how there shouldn't be any association. And then we've also got this story where relationships evolve and change so much post weight loss surgery, and even in terms of how friends respond to you. That maybe there's friends in your network that didn't like that you became the beautiful looking, gorgeous Heidi that you became after surgery, and that your partner or your husband maybe responded to you differently. Tell me about some of the changing dynamics in relationships that you've experienced over time post-surgery.
I think I was lucky in a way with friends. They were genuinely really supportive. There were some people that suggested I should have done things the natural way. And I said, well, do you use a washing machine, or do you wash your clothes the natural way down at the river? It's a tool. And then my success kind of spoke for itself, and the enduring success. So not just losing the weight, but keeping it off. So I think anyone who may have been sitting on the sidelines wondering whether I'd made the right decision is pretty confident I did as well. A relationship, I was married when I had the surgery, and my husband at the time was very supportive of it. For me, I think it's difficult to be in a relationship when you're not fully living the life that or being true to yourself, or living your truth. And for me, that was very much the case. I wasn't confident enough to look at making decisions that were in my best interests. And I was very much felt stuck in my life. I dealt with difficulties in a relationship by eating. And when we separated, my partner actually got a job overseas, so he was gone for long periods of time just after my son was born. And I realised for the first time that I actually felt okay. I was really confident as a mum. It was tough, it was hard work. I was a working mum of 2 kids. But I realised I could do this, and I felt like I was really feeling into myself, developing into this person that felt like me. And I felt stronger than I'd ever felt. And it was really tough, a very difficult decision. But I've moved forward separately. I'm a better mum, and I'm a better friend, and I'm a better ex-partner, I think, for it. I think it's probably about living your truth, people say, but that's really what it is for me.
Beautiful. Absolutely love it. And congratulations for all that you're achieving in life in general. I think it's spectacular.
Thanks.
What was for you any of the downside? Because I know people always want to know, well, what are the risks and what are the complications? What was the downside for you when it comes to thinking back to post-surgery, or anything that you live with long term that you see as a downside to having gone through the surgical pathway?
Gosh, I do have to watch my nutrition. I don't think that's a bad thing though. I think that's probably something I should have been doing anyway. And I really do pay attention to making sure I get a good nutritional balance in the food that I'm eating, because I don't eat as much as I did before. I do have low iron and B12 I have to watch occasionally, but I've also got friends who haven't had weight loss surgery who are also struggling with those, so I'm not sure how much relates to that. I honestly can't think of any downside. I'd make the decision 100 times over if I had to.
I love that.
Yeah.
A lot of people worry about hair loss, and the reason I'm raising that is because you've got luscious, beautiful, gorgeous hair.
Yeah, I've got hair to lose.
Did you ever lose any hair after surgery? Never. Never had a problem.
When I was pregnant, I would come out in hairfuls, but obviously it doesn't matter, I've got a lot, but it didn't come throughout with the surgery. So I'm a bit surprised. I was expecting it, but yeah, not for me. I was lucky.
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what the future looks like for Heidi Stepanoff. Where to next, and what are your hopes and dreams for the future?
Well, I think I'd like to continue writing. I write in my spare time, just fiction. I've never had the confidence to send anything away, so I hope that I can send something off. I want to continue diving. I want to continue being active. I want to be that active grandma one day who takes the kids and takes them diving. I really just want to grab life and live it to its fullest. That's it. I feel really lucky that I have this chance to live this life as actively as I do, and I'm going to take every opportunity that comes my way.
Fantastic. I love that we've had an opportunity to, first of all, for me to see you here 11 years after surgery, because I do have such strong memories of your early journey. So yeah, reconnecting 11 years later is just, it is a wow moment.
Yeah.
And I love that we get to still connect and see patients who've had this amazing story and journey long term. And I think for many people, seeing longevity of outcomes and the future direction, I think is really such a lovely story for you to be able to share with people who are listening today and watching your story evolve is beautiful. And I hope one day that, we'll be reading your book. So
fingers crossed.
Yeah, we can't wait. That'll be lovely.
Thank you.
I have one last question for you that I like to ask everybody who comes on the podcast. So Heidi, what does wellness mean to you?
Wellness is, for me, it's very much the feeling of being healthy and active. I think if you're able to live an active life and you're feeling confident and feeling good, that's wellness to me. Beautiful. Love it. Please thank Heidi Stepanoff. Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Wellness Warriors podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you online with us. If you enjoyed the series, please leave your review, subscribe and follow, and we look forward to sharing many more stories with you in the future.